Douglas Cooling and Heating, serving the Birmingham area for 38 years. 988-3706. That's Douglas.
This is the Weather Xtreme video for Saturday, June the 4th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters, and while we take a moment to look at weather conditions across the southeastern U.S. for the next week or so, let's step back in history and go back to yesterday afternoon. There's a look at the radar imagery across the southeastern U.S., and you can see that the isolated storms were confined primarily to the southern part of the state, south of about Clanton or so. Now this morning, skies are mostly clear across central Alabama. There's a look from Tuscaloosa, and there's a look at the Edmund Pettus Bridge at Selma, and of course the lights are beginning to wink out as we see sunrise coming up. And there's one final look at the battleship Alabama down in South Alabama. Across the southeastern United States, we're looking at a surface high pressure coupled with, in the upper atmosphere, a very, very strong ridge who's making its influence felt all the way from northern Mexico across the southeastern U.S. and up into southeastern Canada and the Great Lakes region. So very strong high pressure system, and that high pressure system responsible for a good deal of heat across the eastern half of the country, let's say. A little bit cooler in New England, and of course a little bit cooler in the Rockies, where we do see in the higher elevations some 32 readings. Nothing near freezing around here. Boy, wouldn't that be nice here in this hot June after we've had so many records already. But there is our temperatures primarily in the lower 70s, and that's pretty much where we're going to stay for the next 5 to 7 days. QPF not giving us much hope for much precipitation in central Alabama. Any precipitation we have is likely to be of this very isolated nature, and very few spots going to get any rain. Main storm track is much further north along the southern Great Lakes, you might say, stretching from extreme western Pennsylvania across Ohio, Illinois, and Indiana into Iowa and northern Missouri. And that day 2 extends a little bit further to the east and dives a little bit down into the Carolinas as we see the pattern shift just a little bit as that upper ridge migrates somewhat. In the tropics, we're primarily watching the area of cloudiness in the central Caribbean there. Going to produce some flash flooding over Hispaniola, southeastern Cuba, and Jamaica. And there's a look at a close-up view of the infrared satellite imagery, and the thunderstorm certainly pretty strong, as you can see by those bright red areas indicating the very cold cloud tops. And the conditions have become slightly more favorable, so there's a 30% chance that this could become a tropical system within the next 48 hours. We'll certainly be watching that, but it's not likely that this is going to move a great deal in anytime soon. All right, let's go into the 06Z GFS model run, and there's our ridge with a strong 594 contour for today. The 594 contour does disappear, but you can see the ridge meanders a little bit, kind of retrograding, moving back to the west just a little bit on Sunday. It changes very little on Monday as its influence is not quite as strong on the eastern side of that ridge. But then it builds back in on Tuesday, so once again the heat just staying with us. There's Wednesday, the ridge broadening a little bit, and this is where the changes begin to show up. You can see that while the ridge is pretty broad, there's still a bit of a weakness over the southeastern U.S., and that means Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we may begin to see more in the way of scattered showers. We can see that little bit of weakness in the ridge, especially on Thursday, and then again on Friday. And once again, those days look like we could see much better chances. Not fabulous, but going from 10 to 30% is a pretty big change, maybe even as high as 40%. And finally, a week from today, the ridge still in there, but we've got these little weaknesses in there, so the ridge not quite as strong as it has been. And with the potential for showers and the clouds, it looks like highs may be just a little bit lower, at least down into the mid-90s and maybe lower 90s for some spots. All right, going out into voodoo country, there's the ridge still kind of holding over Texas primarily, which of course they don't need it either. And then finally at the end of the period, on the 20th, there is a pretty big weakness, and that may actually allow much better chances for rain. But remember, that's in voodoo country. That's a long way out. Well, thanks for tuning into the Weather Xtreme video. Expect to have the next one posted around 7:30 or so on Sunday morning. In the meantime, I hope that you have a wonderful Saturday, whatever your plans might be. Just keep the heat in mind and stay hydrated. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Have a great day and Godspeed.
Each day there are new stories to tell about the people who live here and the place we call home.
All of the faces that I see, all of the places close to me, they're all part of all the best things about home.
Sharing your stories on ABC 3340, Alabama's news leader.